Hey guys, TJ Dorian here. This is my case study for EDL 854 about the missing Booster Club funds. So within our story here, we have a principal who they have a game that night. It's a basketball game, and in order to make sure that things are functioning as they should, he's walking around and talking with the parents as they're coming in, and kind of fulfilling his duties in that manner. Now, at this building, the PTA helps out a lot. They help out a lot with the concession stand as well as operating the gate to get in and out of the event. Goes through it. It talks about that there are protocols in place. Mentions that 2 people are working the concession stand, 2 people are working the gate. Doesn't get into a lot of detail in how those things are followed through on, though, but it does say that there are 2 people there. Within kind of some of the backstory here, it talks about that Mrs. Bowman, she's got a child who is a cheerleader that's trying to go essentially to like a national competition. And she's already approached the principal to request money from the PTA so that she can go and do that. She specifically asked for $798. And so that's kind of giving her the motive to be suspected, I guess, of taking the missing funds here. Now, the missing funds, they are coming from the gate, which is where Miss Bowman was working, and the ticket numbers are not matching up with the amount of money that is collected in the cash box as the principal is reviewing it. It is short that magic $50 there, and the tickets that are missing, Miss Bowman writes in a note that they were discarded because they were torn and could not be issued. And those tickets, however, are not mentioned as in being part of the cash box or anything. We also know that school and PTA, that they are working together very closely, very frequently, and that's going to begin causing some issues here. So what do we need to know? We need to know who else is working with Ms. Bowman. We need to know what happened to the discard tickets. Did they just get thrown in the trash? Are they in the cash box? Are they what's going on with them? As well as, is there a procedure for it? It is definitely a problem to just start throwing away tickets because it removes the paper trail there. Third part here, is it approved for the district to have non-staff, district staff, non-school staff, work these events in this capacity? Now, it's a difference there where the gate money, the gate funds, those are school funds. The concession stand, it could be ran a couple different ways, and if it is ran by the PTA, and if it is the PTA, those funds are going to the PTA, then by all means they should be running that unit. However, if that is if it is directly tied to the school, where the school itself is putting that concession stand together, then it needs to be staffed by staff members. So to me, that was a huge red flag, and something that I was quite surprised about based on my own background. And then our fourth one here, what protocols are there for running the gate? Is there a form for, a check-in and check-out form? Is there some kind of accounting procedure that goes through there other than, essentially jotting it down on a Post-it note, which is kind of the impression that I get in reading through this case study. So our primary issue, we have 2 of them here. We have that non-staff are working the gate and they're in control of funds, direct control of school funds at the basketball game. And then our second part is that the funds that are accounted for don't match the recorded tickets by that $50 that we're kind of referencing throughout this. Our secondary issue, the PTA and the school, they have some kind of blurry boundaries. I think it's very strange that Miss Bowman is not going to the PTA to request the money, that she is going to the building principal to request the money. Or I could have just misunderstood that, but the president should, or excuse me, not president, but the principal should not have control over those PTA funds. Yes, they can set some recommendations and say, I think the PTA would be a great person to go and look to. I think, or even talking to the PTA president, they could say, hey, I think this would be a great thing for our school, or something of that nature. But parents should not be going to the principal of the building in order to get money from the PTA. So that kind of threw me off a little bit there. And then the secondary issue here, that the PTA does not or should not be in charge of funds that are the school's funds, the district's funds. And that's the part about running the gate and everything. And it says that the PTA president is one organizing that. That's a big red flag there. And then our last one here, that I've already kind of talked about it, that the president, the principal should not be in charge of those PTA funds. They are a separate entity and should be treated as such. So my plan of action here, excuse me, is that I'm going to approach Ms. Bowman and say, hey, here's your cash box. There's $50 missing out of it. Here's your tickets, your ticket numbers, and your ticket numbers are not matching your amount that you have given me, that you have reported to me. And it could be something where she pulls out her wad of tickets and says, oh, well, here's the tickets, and it's all cleared up very nicely and easily. But it's definitely something that she needs to be approached about. Not necessarily in a accusing manner or anything like that, but hey, just in kind of that friendly manner is how I would do it, to hopefully not damage that relationship that we already have. Also, I'm going to go through, if she does, for whatever reason, she's got the tickets in her pocket, and that kind of rectifies the whole situation. I'm going to say, all right, well, here's our procedure. Make sure we're doing this. Make sure we're following through, checking, crossing our T's and dotting our I's as we're going through this stuff, because this is a serious issue, and just kind of reiterate that process. If these things are not in place, then that's going to be something that I'm going to implement, is making sure that we have a check-in and check-out sheet, making sure that no one person is alone handling the funds at one time, whether that means that one person's passing out the ticket, the other person's taking the money, or whatever the case may be, but just so we have multiple people involved at every step. Our second point here, which I already kind of covered, was making sure that our tickets are not discarded. Make sure that we're not just throwing them in the trash, that is something that is not okay. We need to make sure that all of our tickets are accounted for, either in person if they are not sold for whatever reason, or if they are sold, then we're able to account for them with the money, with the cash that we have received in payment. And then my third point here of my plan would be to ensure that all of our events are staffed by school members. It doesn't mean that I think a teacher is any better than any of my parents or anything like that, but to help alleviate some of that misconfusion, or if it's a staff member and we have assigned staff members. I've worked at schools where I was assigned a duty. I've worked at schools where it was voluntary, and we don't need somebody different every week doing jobs that they're essentially not trained at. When you have somebody do it throughout the season, then at all home games throughout the season, then you can have a training for them, and they can kind of run things the way that they need to be ran, or whatever the case may be. But having the PTA staff those things is unacceptable, at least in my opinion. And the staff members, make sure we got that training and all that stuff. That's going to be a big part of that. So how am I going to be promoting the success of all students? Effectively and accurately tracking our school funds. We got to know where the money's at. We got to know where it's going, what it's being spent on. Second part, that I'm going to facilitate our relationships. Building relationships with our community members, it's not an easy thing to do. And when we have people who want to be part of our building, like this district does essentially, that the PTA is very active, the parents are active, that's fantastic. And we need to make sure that we're maintaining those relationships, and that when and if issues like this arise, that they're dealt with in a responsible manner, a professional manner, and we help to preserve those relationships. My third part, ensuring that trustworthy people are in charge of the school resources. That's that part about making sure the staff is involved, making sure that my staff members are the ones who are handling those monies, making sure that we are out and about within our communities and staffing our own events. You don't have a party at your house and then go on vacation for a week. So that's just part of my own little opinion there. And then as I'm going through this, what am I thinking? I'm thinking that the weak boundaries between the school and PTA, that's an issue. Not that it's directly causing any of the issues within this case study, but it is an issue, and if it has not, it will be causing issues. Ms. Bowen had motive, but does she have access? This is that part of, are there two people handling the money all the time? So if are they in cahoots necessarily, or what's the deal here? What's going on? Yeah, she had motive, but just because you had motive doesn't necessarily mean that you perpetrated the crime. Mr. Stevens, far too trusting of PTA, far too trusting of the cashiers. If there is not that checkout list and all those protocols as they go through, and it even kind of mentions that he says, I got responsible people, and kind of everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm not worried about anything. You don't necessarily have to be worried about it, but you do have to be mindful of it, and you do have to make sure that you are watching out as you are going around and talking with parents as they show up and things like that at the games. And then Mr. Stevens should not and is not responsible for doling out those PTA funds. That again, I've talked about it before, but it is a separate entity and should be treated as such. The PTA is not in control of the district funds, nor is the district in control of the PTA funds. And what am I valuing as I'm going through this was having those procedures in place, making sure that we are protecting the school from loss, but also that we are protecting the individuals, in this case, Ms. Bowman. When you have those protocols in place, that's kind of how I tend to phrase things like that, is this isn't necessarily to protect me from you, but it's also to protect you from me. It's a way to make sure that both parties are being accountable, that you are protecting those around you from those undue accusations, more so than I want to look over your shoulder and know every little thing that you're doing. So our unresolved issue, where are those missing funds? Where are the missing tickets? We got to find one of them. We either got to find the money or we got to find the tickets, and that's something that needs to be resolved pretty evidently. Number two, what are the specific procedures? That's something that we need to know in order to fully understand kind of what's going on here. And then along with that, the next part of that is, were those procedures followed? So were they adequate? Were they in place? Is a completely different issue than were they followed? And if they were not followed, then why were they not followed? And what are going to be the repercussions due to that? And then our third one here, why is the PTA staffing the school events? That's about every paragraph here I kept coming back to, why is the PTA doing this? Why are they running that? I'm glad they're involved. That's fantastic. However, we got to have those boundaries. We got to make sure that we have that dividing line between school and PTA. So in my reflection here, how am I promoting the effective and efficient management of the school? Making sure people are in the right place to manage the school function, making sure my staff's in there doing what they need to do, making sure those protocols are in place, and making sure that they are being followed. And then making sure the items are available for the staff, whether that's a checkout sheet, whether that's having another person there to monitor with them or help them out, whatever the case may be, making sure those things are where they need to be. How am I promoting the social learning of every student? By having that conversation with Ms. Bowman, by not just flat out accusing her, telling the security guard, go get her, or something like that, but making sure that, be a human being. Mistakes happen; they need to be rectified. If she just happened to take the tickets and she sticks them in her pocket, and I go and confront her about it, she says, "Well, here's all the tickets." Awesome, great, problem solved. Let's all move down the line. Make sure next time that you're accounting for everything and we're doing things the right way. And again, with that, building those and maintaining those relationships. Making sure that we're following the guidelines, kind of that same deal, just having that conversation. And then I'll continue this last little bit at the next video.